it is extremely important that you read the problem. Extremely important. And the reason for that is that you need to know what you are looking for. Because these problems with the quadratics, which have these parabolas, you can either be looking for the vertex, you could be looking for the x-intercepts, you could be looking for a point along the way. So it becomes important for you to know not only what the variables are, what the units of the variables are. So the first thing we want to take a look at is one of the things we're going to be looking for, not necessarily today, but is that we might be looking for this low point or this high point, which we call the vertex. And then we have formulas involving the vertex. Knowing that the x-coordinate of the vertex is minus b over 2a, and the y-coordinate of the vertex is the function evaluated at the x-coordinate of the vertex. So how do I know I'm looking for the vertex? Keywords would be find the biggest or the smallest, the maximum or the minimum, the most or the least. You're looking for extremes. When it says find the maximum profit, you're looking for vertex. Find the minimum cost, you're looking for vertex. Maximum and minimum always attached to the word vertex. Biggest and smallest attached to the word vertex when you're dealing with a parabola. Then I could be looking for these guys. This is the x-intercepts. So it could be on either end. So then you want to know, how do I know when I'm finding the x-intercepts? Well, the x-intercepts will always come in when I'm looking for a y value of 0. When I'm looking for a y value of 0. If it's this configuration right here, and this where I'm standing here, I shoot an arrow up into the air, I fell to earth. Since it fell to earth, and since I'm an intermediate algebra student, I can calculate where. And where is the x-intercept? This is where the arrow hits the ground. Why? Because how high off the ground is the arrow when the arrow hits the ground? It's 0 feet off the ground. So I have a y value of 0. So it's extremely important that you pay attention to what it's looking for and what formula you're dealing with. The first set of word problems that we're going to hit are going to be a little different. And that's your more typical word problem. And this is where, if possible, I draw a picture. If possible, I draw a picture. And the picture, it says, a square, notice the word is giving me a geometric object, namely a square, city block, covers an area of 435,600 feet. And then it says, what is the length of the side of the square? Of the side of the block. If I draw a picture, it tells me what I'm dealing with is a square. And what do I know about the sides of the square? The sides of the square are all the same. And then it mentions the word area. And I know that the area is 435,600 feet squared. So that now says if I'm dealing with feet squared, that if I'm looking at the units on X, X is in what units? Feet. So if I'm looking at the units, X is the side of the square, and in fact it is the length, the side of the square, and it's in feet, and they are giving me the area, and the area is in square feet. And you're going to say, why? Well, area equals length, regardless, multiplied times width. So if the length is in feet and the width is in feet, then feet times feet happens to be what? Feet squared. That's why area is in feet squared, and then the length of the side is in feet. So area is length times width. So we now have the equation for the problem. If I know that length times width equals area, the length of the square is X, multiplied times the width of the square is X, and the area is 435,600. So that's my equation. Or that X squared equals 435,600. And now what do I need to do to solve that problem? Square root both sides. Remember, this is 9-2. 9-2 is purely square root property and completing the square. That's what 9-2 was all about. Take the square root of both sides, and since it's just a simple equation, don't forget the plus or minus, so that X is the square plus or minus the square root of 35600. So I'm going to pull my handy dandy calculator and take the square root of 435,600, and it's 660, so it's plus or minus 660 what? Feet. Well, here's the thing. We say X is 660, X is minus 660. Who doesn't need to apply for the job? The negative. Why not? You can't have a negative length, right? So length never negative. Now, mathematically speaking, that plus and minus is always there. It's just in the context of an application problem, a negative length makes no sense. So we know that the length of the side of the square block is 660 feet. Should be a capital L. Is 660 feet.